So what happens when the world just doesn't play by the rules? I mean, we're all told life is supposed to be fair, but what do you do when it just isn't? That's what we're digging into today, how we respond to unfairness and the incredible power we actually have, even when it feels like everything is out of our control.
You know the story, right? We all hear it. Work hard, keep your head down, follow the rules, and you'll get ahead. But let's just pause for a second and ask a really tough question, one that this image kind of brings to life. Is that path to success really the same for everyone?
And that question right there takes us straight into our first big idea, this huge, sometimes massive gap between the promise of a fair world and the reality that a lot of people are actually living. I mean, think about it. From the time we're little kids, this is the picture we're sold. And it's a nice idea, right? So comforting. Get a good education. And that's the key. It'll unlock all these opportunities, put you on this golden path to success, a straight shot to a better life. But, and this is where it gets unsettling. What if those very rules, the systems that are supposed to make everything fair, what if they get twisted? Sometimes they're not there to protect you at all. They're there to control. And when that happens, lives can just be, quietly, completely shattered. Okay, so how does this even happen? How does a system turn on someone like that? Well, in this next part, The Making of Silence, we're going to look at a story that really shows the devastating personal impact of this kind of injustice. Let's really think about this for a second. When a system is rigged, what's the real cost? I'm talking about the human cost. What happens to the innocent people who get caught in the gears? So let's walk through someone's story. Imagine a student. Maybe they don't come from much, and their one dream, their only dream, is to learn, to grow. They really believe that education is their ticket, their one shot at building a better life.
And this student, they do everything right. I mean, they put their head down, they study like crazy, they stay quiet, they don't cause any trouble. They follow every single rule right down to the letter. They are the perfect student, completely bought into the system.
And then, poof, out of absolutely nowhere, it all comes crashing down. They get singled out, blamed for something they had nothing to do with, punished, targeted, just like that. Their entire world gets turned completely upside down. So why? What's the reason for this complete betrayal? Well, it's not about what's right or what's true, it's about power. Someone higher up needs to make an example out of somebody, to show who's in charge, or maybe just to impress their own boss. And our student? They're just a pawn in a game they never even knew they were playing. And when you face that kind of injustice, and nobody stands up for you, you start to believe something really dangerous. You start to think that deep down, no one in this world actually cares. And that thought, that's a lonely, isolating place to be. The real tragedy here, it's that this isn't just a one-off thing. That first injustice, it plants a seed of distrust that just keeps growing. It follows them. Into college, then into their first job, into life. They start seeing the same unfair game being played everywhere, over and over again. So, it's easy for us to sit on the sidelines and saying, hey, why don't you just speak up, fight back? But you got to put yourself in their shoes. If the world has shown you again and again that it's not listening, that your voice just doesn't count, how on earth do you find the strength or even the point in trying to question it? So this kind of deep, profound pain, it leads you to a major fork in the road. And that's exactly where we're going next, into this idea of two paths, one pain. Okay, so when you've been through something like this, you basically have two very different ways you can go. On one hand, you've got the path of darkness. Think about characters like the Joker or Wilson Fisk. These are people who were so broken by trauma that they decided, fine, I'm going to break the world right back. But then there's the other path, the path of choice. This is more like Ant-Man or the Wasp. Regular people who get hit with incredible loss and pressure, but they still make the choice to do the right thing. And here's the real takeaway from all this. Yes, pain is a huge force. It absolutely shapes us. But, and this is a big but, it doesn't get the final say. What truly defines us isn't just what happens to us. It's the choice we make about what to do next. All right, so if our choices are what really define us, that takes us to our last section, the choice that defines. This is where we talk about what we can actually control. Which brings us to the big practical question, right? So what do we do? When you're faced with a world that is just not always fair, what are you supposed to do? How do you even move forward? Well, the first step is we have to face some hard truths.
We just have to accept it. Life is not always going to be fair. People aren't always going to be aware of the damage they're doing. And yeah, that means the outcomes aren't always going to be just. And look, saying that isn't about being negative. It's just being realistic.
So what's left in our hands? Well, it kind of boils down to a 3-step process. Step 1, do what we just did. Acknowledge reality for what it is. Step 2, really understand the one thing you do have power over, your choices. And then step 3, actively use that power to decide which path you're going to take. And maybe, just maybe, the most important choice of all is this one. The choice to not pass on the pain. To make a conscious decision to break the cycle. To not inflict the same kind of hurt on someone else. To flat out refuse to become the very thing that broke you.
And that really leaves us with this final idea. Look, life's going to throw stuff at you. It's unpredictable. We can't control what other people do, and we can't always control what happens. But the one thing that is always in our hands, the one real power we have, is deciding who we're going to be through it all. So the question is, what choice will you make?